Kid Icarus, a well-known Nintendo series starring Pit, a friendly angel who can't actually fly and is the servant of the goddess of light Palutena. Starting all the way back in 1986 and flourishing into what it is today, Kid Icarus brought joy to many fans and made special accomplishments throughout its lifespan, such as becoming one of the best-selling games on the 3DS and starring in the Super Smash Bros. Series, having Pit, Dark Pit, and Palutena all make it onto the roster as playable fighters. But when was the last time you saw a mainline game be released for this series? Today, we investigate the disappearance of Kid Icarus. Please, join me as we take a deep dive into the franchise, covering the extensive history of the series, where it all went wrong, and if it will ever return. During the early days of Nintendo, which some would consider to be the golden age of Nintendo, designers in the Research and Development 1 faction and developers from Intelligent Systems were hard at work on a new game. This game was being developed for the Family Computer Disk System, also known as the Famicom for short. This is because the floppy disks that the system used allowed for 3 times the storage capacity of NES cartridges at the time. Combined with the possibility of being able to save the player's progress to the disc, it allowed the developers to create a vastly more extensive world inside the game. I'm sure that by now, you know that the game in question is none other than the original Kid Icarus, a side-scrolling platformer with various RPG elements. The game itself is loosely based off of Greek mythology and is set in Angel Land. You play as the young angel Pit, who had a bow and arrow bestowed upon him by the goddess of light Palutena. He escapes from his captivity in the underworld and sets off to save Palutena from her imprisonment in the Sky Palace. Along the way, he has to retrieve 3 sacred treasures hidden deep within the fortresses of the Underworld, Overworld, and the Skyworld. This game featured many weird and out-of-place features, such as a wizard that would turn the player into an eggplant, and a huge flying nose that was meant to resemble that of Hirokazu Tanaka, the composer of the game. And this is all thanks to Yoshio Sakamoto, who joined the development of this game after his vacation following the completion of Metroid. And he actually ended up changing the entire course of the game. Toru Osawa, another lead designer for the game, said that he originally tried to make Kid Icarus a more serious game, but after objections from the team, he ended up opting for a more humorous approach. I guess if it wasn't for Sakamoto, we wouldn't know Kid Icarus as we do today, because without his contributions, none of these wacky and zany enemies that end up giving the game the charm it has would exist. Thanks, Sakamoto. Following the release of Kid Icarus, it was met with mixed reviews. There were reviewers such as Nintendo Magazine System that said the game was pretty good fun, and others such as Retro Gamer that said the game looks and sounds pretty, describing the music as sublime and the enemy characters as brilliantly drawn. But the general consensus among reviews seemed to be that the game was just too dang hard, with many reviewers saying the game was pretty annoying, excessively difficult, and that it had pretty challenging level design. But despite that, Kid Icarus still went on to be in IGN's top 100 NES games of all time, as well as being listed in Nintendo Power's top 20 NES games of all time. And I guess this was good enough for the developers, because they decided to make a sequel. This game was titled Kid Icarus of Myths and Monsters. Not much is known about the development of this game, but all in all, it was met with generally favorable reviews, receiving statements such as being advanced significantly beyond its predecessor, the fact that it was an awesome sequel, and that it provided fairly jolly fun. Though it wasn't exactly the most memorable title according to IGN, who found it not as punishing and perhaps not as memorable, and a solid title that has undeservedly been all but forgotten. And I guess they were right, because this is the last that we would see from the Kid Icarus franchise for almost 20 years. After the development of Super Smash Bros. Brawl was complete, Masahiro Sakurai, the creator of Super Smash Bros., was tasked with creating a launch title for the upcoming 3DS system. Now, the platform was still early in development at the time, which gave Sakurai plenty of time to think of ideas for the game. He wanted to create a third-person shooter game as it seemed best suited for the planned 3D effects of the 3DS. At this point, the entire game was going to be an original title, but instead, Sakurai opted for using an existing Nintendo IP as the basis for this new game. At first, he considered using Star Fox as the basis, but decided against it due to the restrictions he felt came with it. He ultimately decided to use Kid Icarus, due to its long absence from the gaming market. And the game that he ended up making is, in my opinion, one of the best games you could ever play on the 3DS. The gameplay that Kid Icarus Uprising offered was just a breath of fresh air. The visuals were impeccable, the music was incredible, the comedic characters and dialogue added so much to the immersiveness of this game, and it could have easily been considered one of the best 3DS games of all time. And I'm not alone in this mentality, because the game received largely positive reviews from critics such as Eurogamer, giving it a 9 out of 10, and Famitsu giving it a perfect score. This was truly the revival that Kid Icarus was so desperately in need of, boosting the franchise into the spotlight and making it one of the best-selling games on the 3DS. Which begs the question, what happened to Kid Icarus? It's been nearly 14 years since the release of Kid Icarus Uprising, and there is no hope of a new title in sight. Ever since Sakurai completed development on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, adding the final fighter Sora as a massive bang to end off the saga, he announced that he was going into semi-retirement from game development in 2022. He announced this in an interview with Defaminiko Gamer, a Japanese news publisher. A summary of the interview states this: Sakurai confirms that he is semi-retired. He is 52 after all. Throughout Smash for 3DS and Wii U and Smash Ultimate, he spent 9 years in active development. Sakurai felt that if he just continuously made games full time, his life will be over before he realizes it. So Sakurai stepped down from game development. Does this mean that this is the end of Kid Icarus? While there are still high hopes surrounding the revival of this franchise, it has practically been all but deconfirmed. First of all, 4 months after the release of Kid Icarus Uprising, Project Sora, Sakurai's own company, and the creator of Kid Icarus Uprising had actually shut down. This was because they accomplished their only goal, making Kid Icarus Uprising, and had no reason to continue operating. So, while Sakurai's retired and Project Sora is shut down, who is left to continue Kid Icarus? Right, there's nobody, and it only gets worse from here. You see, after Sakurai retired, he created a YouTube channel under the name of Masahiro Sakurai on Creating Games, and there was a video he released on the development of Kid Icarus Uprising, and towards the end of the video, he gives a grim statement. In the end, I think this game turned out to be a showpiece title. It's a shame that it only lived on the 3DS, as I'd love to play on a bigger screen with smoother graphics. But without a team to work on it, crafting a follow-up seems difficult. This was the nail in the coffin. The statement that ruined Kid Icarus fans' dreams on finally being able to play a title on the Switch. So I hope that one day Nintendo gives Sakurai the resources he needs to finally give us a new title for Kid Icarus. But for now, I can confidently say that this case is closed. But hey, don't get too down about it. Look on the bright side. If you enjoyed this video, I have many other videos detailing various things about Nintendo, such as how they were removing the essence in their consoles, and how Pikmin was saved by the fans that were so desperately craving another game. So, why don't you subscribe so you don't forget to watch those and many other videos I have in the works. Good choice. Welcome. Thanks for watching to the end of this video. I hope to see you again. Bye.